10 Down WJ presents Shadows of Deceit. Chapter 1. The Breakfast Meeting. Yella stared out the window of her apartment, the early morning sun casting a golden hue over the city. It was a fresh day, yet her heart was heavy with resentment. She had chosen the restaurant for the business breakfast carefully, knowing that it would be the perfect setting for her plans. Today was not just about discussing future ventures, it was about revenge. Her two colleagues, Mark and Lena, were unaware of the sinister intentions lurking behind her cheerful facade. Yella had always been the one to organize team outings, but today, her motives were anything but innocent. Mark, with his charming smile and successful track record, had become a target of her envy and anger. He represented everything she felt she had lost: respect, love, and a sense of purpose. As they arrived at the restaurant, Yella felt a surge of adrenaline. She could see the familiar faces of the staff, some whom she had befriended during previous visits. They greeted her warmly, oblivious to the darkness brewing within her. She smiled back, her mind racing with the details of her plan. "Good morning, everyone," Lena chimed, her optimism a stark contrast to Yella's brooding demeanor. Mark nodded politely, his attention fixed on the menu. "Let's order some drinks first," Yella suggested, her voice laced with an artificial sweetness. As they placed their orders, she discreetly signaled to the waiter, a young man she had befriended, to prepare something special for Mark. Chapter 2. The Poisoned Dish. As the food arrived, Yella watched Mark intently. He picked at his plate, unaware of the hidden danger within. She had slipped a potent substance into his dish, a poison that would leave no trace. Her heart raced with anticipation as she imagined the chaos that would ensue when her plan came to fruition. "How's the food, Mark?" Lena asked, her eyes sparkling with delight. "It's great, thanks. I always enjoy coming here," he replied, taking another bite. Yella clenched her fists under the table, fighting the urge to reveal her true feelings. The conversation flowed around her, but Yella felt detached, as if she were watching a movie play out rather than living it. She couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom that loomed over her like a dark cloud. "You know," Mark said, breaking through her thoughts, "we should consider expanding our outreach in the community. It could really elevate our brand." Yella's heart sank. His optimism was infuriating. How could he be so blissfully unaware of the struggles that others faced? It was as if he was mocking her past failures, and she was determined to make him pay. Chapter 3. A Revelation. As they finished their meal, a sense of unease settled over Yella. Mark had not shown any signs of distress, and she couldn't understand why. Her plans had always worked before, why was this time different? Mark excused himself to the restroom, and in that moment, Yella's mind spiraled. She had prepared for this, but now she felt the weight of her actions pressing down on her. The darkness that had consumed her for so long began to crack, revealing the remnants of a once bright spirit. "You okay, Yella?" Lena asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "Yeah, just thinking," she replied, forcing a smile. When Mark returned, he looked pale but not in the way she had hoped. Instead of collapsing from the poison, he sat down and stared directly at her, his eyes piercing through her facade. "Yella, I see you," he said quietly, causing her heart to race. "I know there's something you're hiding. You're angry, and I can feel it." His words struck a chord, and Yella felt the urge to lash out. But instead, she felt a strange sense of vulnerability wash over her. How could he see through her lies? Chapter 4. The Struggle Within. As the meeting continued, Yella felt a sense of desperation. Her plan was unraveling, and the darkness she had embraced began to feel suffocating. Mark's presence was like a beacon of light, illuminating her toxic intentions and forcing her to confront the truth she had buried deep within. "You know, we all have our struggles," Mark continued, his tone gentle. "But hurting others won't heal your pain. You have to face it." Yella's mind raced. How dare he lecture her? But deep down, she recognized the wisdom in his words. The rage that had fueled her actions was rooted in her own insecurities and failures. She had been so consumed by envy that she had lost sight of who she truly was. Chapter 5. The Confrontation. After breakfast, Yella excused herself, needing space to think. She wandered outside, her heart racing as she battled the storm of emotions within her. The sun shone brightly, illuminating the path before her, but all she could see were the shadows of her past. As she paced, Mark approached her, concern etched on his face. "Yella Ree, please talk to me. I don't want to see you spiral down this path." "Why do you care?" she snapped, her anger flaring. "You have it all. Success, respect, everything I've ever wanted." Mark shook his head. "That's not true. Success doesn't define someone. It's about how we treat others and ourselves. You're better than this." His words hit her like a slap to the face. For a moment, she felt exposed, as if he had stripped away the layers of deception she had wrapped around herself. The rage that had fueled her plans began to give way to something else, regret. Chapter 6. A Voice of Truth. Yella Ree stood in silence, grappling with the weight of her choices. She had spent so long trying to bring others down, but in doing so, she had only succeeded in dragging herself into darkness. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the pain of her past, the rejection, the mistakes, the loneliness. "I don't know how to change," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "You just did," Mark replied softly. "Recognizing the problem is the first step. Let's work through this together." In that moment, Yella Ree realized that she didn't have to face her demons alone. The path to redemption wouldn't be easy, but it was a path worth taking. She had the opportunity to redefine her life, to step away from the shadows that had consumed her for so long. Chapter 7. The Road to Redemption. As days turned into weeks, Yella Ree focused on healing. With Mark and Lena's support, she began to confront her past, seeking forgiveness for the hurt she had caused others and, more importantly, herself. It was a challenging journey, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt, but she pressed on. Mark taught her about compassion, not just for others but for herself. He reminded her that everyone makes mistakes, and it's how we learn from them that truly matters. Slowly, Yella Ree began to rebuild her life, shedding the toxicity that had once defined her. Chapter 8. A New Beginning. Months later, Yella Ree stood in front of a mirror, her reflection showing a woman transformed. The bitterness that had once clouded her heart had been replaced with hope. She had learned to embrace her flaws and celebrate her growth. As she walked into the office, she felt a sense of purpose. Her colleagues greeted her with smiles, and she returned them genuinely. The darkness that had threatened to consume her was now a distant memory, replaced by the light of newfound friendships and self-acceptance. In the end, Yella Ree had discovered that the power to change her life lay within her. With each step she took towards healing, she found strength in vulnerability, love in forgiveness, and joy in the journey ahead. Epilogue. The Power of Light. As Yella Ree continued her journey, she realized that the road to redemption was not a solitary one. She had allies in Mark and Lena, and together they forged a bond that transcended the darkness of the past. They became advocates for others who struggled, using their experiences to uplift and inspire. Yella Ree learned that life was not about tearing others down but about building each other up. She had walked through the shadows, but now she stood in the light, ready to embrace a future filled with endless possibilities. And in that light, she found her true purpose, to be a force for good in a world that desperately needed it. 10 Down WJ, where creativity meets impact. 10 Down WJ, ENT